You know that feeling when you're standing over a crucial putt and you do absolutely everything right?
Oh, yeah. Every golfer knows that feeling.
Right. I mean, you read the green, you pick your exact spot, you align the putter face flawlessly, and then you just strike the ball precisely on your intended line. You look up, fully expecting it to drop, and instead you just watch the ball slide right past the hole.
It is incredibly frustrating.
It really is.
Yeah.
You just walk away thinking, my eyes must be broken, or I just cannot read greens.
Yeah, well, it's a completely universal golf experience, whether you're a weekend player or a touring professional. And it almost always leads to an immediate crisis of confidence. We stand there analyzing the miss, and we instantly assume, our aim was flawed.
We convince ourselves we misjudged the slope, right?
Exactly, or that we saw a break that just wasn't there.
But what if your aim was actually perfect and you were just solving the wrong physics problem entirely? So today we're bringing you a premium sports science masterclass on exactly that. We're diving into a really detailed breakdown of science-based aiming from the Puttalyze system.
And our mission for this deep dive is to completely elevate your golf IQ. We want to take green reading, which for most of us is a highly subjective, stressful guessing game, and transform it into an objective, science-based process.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because the traditional way we're all taught to read greens from day one is actually built on a massive myth.
Right, the fundamental myth. And this is how almost everyone learns to navigate a golf course. It's the belief that reading a breaking putt simply means picking a point beside the hole and aiming the putter toward it.
You just pick an aim point, hit the ball at that spot, and, hope the slope does the rest of the work.
Exactly.
The classic, just aim a cup outside the left advice. But you really think about it. I mean, that implies the ball is rolling on a flat piece of glass in a vacuum. It totally ignores the reality of the turf.
It really does. And from a scientific and physical standpoint, an aim point alone can just never provide a complete solution. A golf ball on a green is subjected to continuous physical forces.
So it's not just a simple geometry problem.
No, not at all. The moment it leaves the putter face, it's fighting this complex combination of variables. You have the green speed, the severity of the slope, rolling friction from the grass, your specific putting angle, the pull of gravity, the ball speed, and of course, the sheer amount of energy delivered at impact.
Wow, that is a lot going on all at once.
Yeah, and those forces don't just act on the ball once. They are continuously interacting with each other throughout every single millimeter of the roll.
So if picking a spot, a cup outside the left, isn't enough, what are the actual missing variables we're ignoring here? Because I know I'm definitely guilty of just looking at the hole and guessing the curve.
Well, we're ignoring the undeniable physical fact that direction and speed are scientifically inseparable.
Inseparable. So you have to link them.
Right. You simply cannot change one without automatically changing the other. The Puttalyze system addresses this by throwing out the old idea of treating aim and pace as, two separate skills that you just try to blend together. Instead, it uses an integrated model where every single putt is defined by three interconnected elements.
I want to make sure we really understand these three elements.
Yeah.
Because I feel like they're the foundation of everything that follows. First, we have the aim point. That's the one we all know. It's the required starting direction.
Correct.
But the second element is the distance point. Now, I have to admit, when I was going through the source material, this was a completely new concept to me. I mean, I understand aiming left or right, but how does a point dictate distance?
It's actually brilliant in its clarity once you shift your perspective a bit. The distance point represents the required energy and the equivalent stopping point of the ball. The easiest way to conceptualize it is to imagine that the hole doesn't even exist on the green.
Just a smooth, unbroken slope.
Yes. If you strike the ball with a specific amount of energy on that unbroken slope, where exactly would it naturally come to rest?
Ah, I see.
That specific location is your distance point. It forces you to define exactly how much total energy you're putting into the system. And that brings us to the third critical element, which is target speed.
And what exactly does that measure?
This is the desired speed of the ball at the exact moment it reaches the physical location of the hole.
So aim point for starting direction, distance point for total energy applied, and target speed for how fast it's moving when it actually reaches the cup. And the science insists you cannot separate these three. But I mean, if I'm trying to figure this out on the course, I feel like everyone would choose a different target speed. Some people want the ball to just barely trickle over the front edge, while others aggressively slam it into the back of the cup. Doesn't that create chaos?
What's fascinating here is how Puttalyze standardizes the math to eliminate exactly that chaos. If you don't standardize the target speed, Every single golfer would solve the exact same putt differently.
Meaning they'd all need completely different aim points for the exact same line.
Exactly. So to solve this, Puttalyze calculates every putt to reach the hole at a standardized target speed of approximately 3 rotations per second, or 3 ARPs.
Why 3 ARPs, though? Why not, 2 or 5?
Well, this specific capture speed is chosen because it provides the mathematical ideal balance. A ball rolling at 3 rotations per second at the hole gives you a highly predictable break and extremely effective hole capture.
Meaning it won't lip out as easily.
Right. It also provides repeatable distance control, and it allows for consistent aim point calculations across the board.
Okay, to make sure I'm really internalizing the physics of this, I was thinking about it like archery in a heavy crosswind.
Oh, that's a really good comparison.
Yeah, so if you're shooting an arrow across a windy field, you can't just pick a spot in the distance and aim there. You have to factor in the tension of the bow at the speed of the arrow. If you pull the bowstring back just a little bit and shoot a slow arrow, that arrow is going to spend more time in the air, which means the crosswind has more time to push it off course.
Right, the wind takes over.
Exactly. But if you draw the bow back fully and shoot a high-speed arrow, it cuts through the wind much faster, spends way less time in the air, and drifts significantly less. The wind hasn't changed, the target hasn't changed, but the speed of the projectile completely changes where you need to aim.
And in golf, gravity on a sloped green is that crosswind. Gravity is acting continuously on the rolling golf ball, pulling it down the slope.
Always pulling.
Always. And the amount of sideways movement, the break, depends primarily on one single factor, which is how long the ball remains on that slope.
But knowing the physics in a vacuum doesn't really help me on a Sunday morning. I mean, if I'm standing over a putt, I'm not doing calculus. So how does this travel time actually manipulate the ball on real grass? The source text gives a really illuminating example here, the tale of 2 golfers. Let's walk through it.
Sure. So picture 2 golfers facing the exact same breaking putt. Say it's a 10-footer that breaks right to left. They both evaluate the green, and they both select the exact same aim point.
Down to millimeter.
Yep. Now the first golfer steps up and strikes the ball softly. The second golfer steps up and strikes the ball firmly. Even though both golf balls start on the identical line, they will almost certainly follow entirely different trajectories toward the hole.
Okay, let's track that first softer putt. What is physically happening to it?
Well, because it was struck softly, it lacks initial energy. The slower-moving ball remains under the influence of gravity for a longer period of time. It just takes longer to travel those 10 feet.
Because it's moving slower.
Right. And because it's trapped on the slope longer, gravity has a larger window of time to pull it sideways. Therefore, the softer putt breaks significantly more, likely diving below the hole.
And what about the second golfer who hit it firmly?
That faster-moving ball reaches the hole much sooner. It spends less total time subjected to the sideways pull of gravity, so it fights the slope, follows a much flatter path, and breaks less. It likely stays high and misses above the hole.
Even though the aim point never changed for either player.
Exactly. But the ball speed did. And because ball speed dictates travel time, which dictates the amount of break, the original aim point was actually incorrect for both of their chosen speeds. This is why Puttalyze states firmly that there is no correct aim point without a defined target speed.
Wait, I need to push back on this a little bit. If speed dictates travel time, what happens when the greens themselves change? Let's say you have the exact same 10-foot putt with the exact same slope, but one green is a typical municipal course rolling at a Stimp 9, meaning an average green speed, and the other is a tournament-ready green rolling at a lightning-fast Stimp 12.
Okay, I see where you're going.
Does the fast green break less because the ball is supposedly moving faster? Because that feels incredibly intuitive.
It is deeply intuitive to think that a fast green means a fast ball, which would mean less break, but scientifically, it's actually the exact opposite.
Really? The opposite?
Yeah, this is a crucial clarification. On that faster Stimp 12 green, there is much less rolling friction from the grass. Therefore, to get the ball to stop at the same 10-foot distance point, you must strike it with much less initial energy.
Oh, right. You barely tap it on a fast green.
Exactly. And because you strike it with less initial energy, the ball's average speed as it travels those 10 feet is actually lower than it would be if you had to aggressively hit it across the slower Stimp 9 green.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it in terms of average speed over the whole journey.
Most people don't. Because the average speed is lower on the fast green, the ball spends more total time traveling across the slope. And as we established with your archery analogy, more time on the slope means more time under the influence of gravity.
So it drifts more.
Yes. Therefore, on faster greens, the exact same putt actually breaks more and requires a larger, higher aim point.
That is wild. So fast green equals less initial energy, which equals lower average speed, which equals longer travel time, which equals more break. When you lay out the causality like that, it kind of breaks your brain at first, but then it makes perfect, undeniable sense.
It really does when you break down the math.
It also shows how easily these speed-to-break dynamics can completely confuse players. Which makes me wonder, how does this physical reality impact the way players are coached? Like, when a golfer misses a putt, they usually look to their coach or their playing partner for advice. How is this normally handled?
Unfortunately, the source highlights a massive flaw in traditional coaching. It's evaluating a player's direction without simultaneously evaluating their pace. Coaches and players constantly misdiagnose the root cause of a missed putt.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because anyone who has ever picked up a putter has done this. We miss a putt, we stare at the hole in disbelief, and we immediately blame our aim.
We always assume our eyes deceived us. But imagine a golfer who actually reads a putt perfectly. They calculate the ideal aim point for our standardized 3 arcs target speed. They align the putter face flawlessly, and they start the ball precisely on their intended line.
Okay, they did everything right.
But their stroke mechanics are just a bit off, and they strike it slightly too softly.
So it loses momentum earlier than planned.
Right. It loses speed early, gravity pulls on it for an extended period, and the ball breaks sharply below the hole. What does the golfer usually say in that moment? They say, I underread it. I didn't play enough break.
And so, logically, on the very next putt, they adjust their aim higher up the slope.
Which is an absolute disaster from a consistency standpoint. If they change their aim without fixing the speed error that actually caused the miss, they're just creating a second error to compensate for the first. They are literally layering mistakes, and it works the exact opposite way, too. If they hit the ball too firmly, gravity has less time to act, the ball stays high and misses above the hole.
So they shake their head and think, I played too much break.
Exactly, when in reality their aim was mathematically perfect, their speed was just wrong.
Speed errors disguised as aim errors.
Wow.
That is such a light bulb moment for anyone who struggles with consistency on the greens. We are constantly fixing the wrong problem.
We really are.
It highlights why the source material emphasizes understanding the geometry of the slope, specifically something called the fall line. I can visualize a slope, but how does the fall line actually dictate these angles and energy requirements?
Well, the fall line is the single most important geometrical feature of any hole cut into a slope. It represents the absolute direction of steepest descent straight through the cup.
Like water running down a hill.
Yes, if you took a bucket of water and poured it directly over the hole, the path the water takes running straight down the hill, that is your fall line. Or if you placed a golf ball on the green near the hole without pushing it, gravity would naturally pull it straight down this specific line.
So it's the pure straight up and straight down axis of the grid.
Precisely. And the angle at which you are putting relative to this fall line changes everything about how gravity affects the ball's energy.
How so? Like what happens on a side hill putt?
If you have a pure side hill putt, meaning you're putting exactly perpendicular across the fall line, gravity is acting at a 90-degree angle to your initial starting direction. This creates the maximum possible sideways influence on the ball, which means maximum break.
Okay, but what if you're putting directly uphill or downhill along that fall line? Does the break just go away?
The lateral break goes away, yes, but the energy requirements change drastically. If you have a straight uphill putt along the fall line, gravity is acting entirely against the forward motion of the ball. There's very little sideways movement, so you don't play any break.
Right, you just aim straight.
But here is the critical part. An uphill putt requires significantly more initial energy just to overcome the downward pull of gravity. Because you have to hit it harder, it reaches the hole sooner. Less travel time means less lateral influence if you are slightly off-center.
And what happens when you're standing above the hole looking straight down the fall line?
A downhill putt requires much less initial energy because gravity is actively assisting the forward motion.
It's pulling it down the hill for you.
Exactly. Because you have to hit it incredibly softly just to keep it from racing past the cup, the ball remains in motion for a much longer period. More travel time means gravity has a remarkably long window to act on it laterally if your start line is even a fraction of a degree off.
That makes a lot of sense.
This physical reality that downhill putts must be hit slower and therefore break more heavily from any slight deviation is exactly why downhill putts are mathematically and physically so much harder for players to control.
It's brilliant theory. You can practically see the geometry mapped out on the green with lasers.
Yeah.
But again, I want to take this out of the laboratory and put it into practice. Imagine you're actually out on the course. You're standing over a nerve-wracking 15-foot side hill putt to win your weekend match. Your hands are sweating.
Oh yeah, we've all been there.
So how do you physically execute this integrated model? How do you apply this science in real time?
Well, the very first practical application you have to grasp, and this is a major paradigm shift, is the critical difference between the hole and the target. They are not the same thing.
Wait, really? I think most of us use those words totally interchangeably. Like, the hole is the target.
In traditional feel-based putting, yes. But in a science-based approach, the hole is simply the final destination. The target is your aiming reference. On a perfectly flat, level green, your target line might pass right through the center of the hole. But on our hypothetical 15-foot side hill slope, we know gravity is going to pull the ball aggressively toward the low side.
Right.
So to compensate for that pull, you have to start the ball on the high side. Therefore, the true target is an external reference point entirely separate from the cup. It might be a discolored blade of grass 3 feet to the right of the hole, or an old pitch mark on the fall line above it.
It makes me think of steering a boat upstream to compensate for a river's current.
Oh, that's a perfect analogy.
Yeah, if your destination is a dock directly across a wide river, and the river is flowing hard from right to left, you can't just aim the nose of your boat straight at the dock. If you do, the current, which in this analogy is gravity, is going to push you way past it downstream. You have to pick a target upstream, maybe a large oak tree on the far bank, point the nose of your boat at the tree, and let the current naturally drift you down to your actual destination, the dock.
And in golf, many players instinctively align their putter directly at the hole, the destination, and then try to subconsciously manipulate their stroke during the swing to steer the ball toward the upstream target.
They try to guide it, which always leads to terrible mechanics. You decelerate, you open the face, you jab at it.
It completely guarantees inconsistent face alignment, poor start direction, and unreliable pace. So to completely eliminate that manipulation, Puttalyze lays out an exact 4-step science-based execution sequence that you can rely on under pressure.
Let's weave this into our scenario. I'm on a green, 15 feet away. Before I even address the ball, what is step one?
Step 1 is pure observation. Evaluate the physical conditions. You need to objectively assess the distance to the hole, the green speed or Stimp rating, the severity of the slope, and your specific putting angle relative to the fall line. You're basically just gathering the raw data.
Okay, so I have my data. It's a fast green, moderate slope, downhill, right to left. What is step 2?
Step 2 is to determine your 3 points. Based on the data you just gathered, you mentally calculate your aim point, which is that external target upstream. You visualize your distance point, meaning how much total energy you need to supply, and you commit to your target speed, which is our standardized 3 rotations per second at the cup.
So where am I starting at? How much total energy am I applying? And how fast is it moving when it drops? Got it. Now I'm finally ready to step into the ball.
Yes. Step 3 is purely mechanical and requires total commitment. Align the putter face strictly to the calculated start line. You aim your putter squarely at that external target, like the discolored blade of grass, and you completely ignore the actual hole.
Man, that takes a lot of mental discipline.
It really does. It's hard to look away from the hole. And finally, step 4. Deliver the ball with the correct amount of energy to reach the distance point you visualized. You just execute the stroke, trusting the math.
This entirely shifts green reading from a subjective, feel-based art that totally falls apart under stress to a repeatable physical formula. It gives you a concrete process to fall back on when the pressure is on.
It creates a logical chain reaction that dictates every successful putt. If we synthesize the ultimate formula from all the source material we've covered today, it flows perfectly. Travel time determines gravity's influence determines the break, and the break determines your required aim point.
Travel time determines gravity, which determines break, which determines aim point. Everything is physically connected. So what does this all mean? It means there's no such thing as a single universal aim point for a breaking putt. Your required line is dictated entirely by your chosen speed.
That is the core takeaway.
If you choose to dive the ball into the cup, your travel time is longer, gravity pulls harder, and you must aim higher. If you choose to ram it into the back of the cup, your travel time is shorter, gravity pulls less, and you must aim lower. Both are physically possible, but they're completely different mathematical solutions to the exact same putt.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's really about giving the golfer total agency over their game. Knowledge truly is power on the golf course. When you finally internalize the physics, when you understand why slower putts break more, and why faster putts break less, and why downhill putts are so incredibly sensitive, you stop feeling like a victim to mysterious, invisible slopes.
You take back control.
Right. You stop trying to guess the break based on hope, and you start calculating the physics of the roll. You control the variables rather than letting the variables control you.
It completely takes the mystery out of the miss. Which brings me to a final thought for you to take away from this deep dive. The next time you're out on the course and you hit that crucial putt you thought was perfectly read and you agonizingly watch it slide past the low side of the hole. Wait, before you shake your head and blame your eyes for a bad read, take a breath, review the physics, and ask yourself this. Did you actually miss the aim, or did you just miss the distance point?
It changes everything.
If you found today's episode valuable, please subscribe to our channel. Every subscription helps us continue producing evidence-based golf education for golfers and coaches around the world. If you have a golf question, topic idea, or challenge you would like us to research, test, or explain, please leave a comment, contact us on LinkedIn, or send us an email. If you're ready to improve your putting performance, join our 30-day Puttalyze Green Reading and Putting Certification course, where you'll learn green reading, speed and distance control, setup, alignment, aim, stroke mechanics, and a proven system for reading greens with greater confidence and consistency.